Imagine getting an uneasy, anxious feeling that you've never felt before. And the moment after you lie down, you see your dead father standing in the doorway. Well, for my guest, Kevin, that wasn't a dream. That was a total system reboot. In this episode of Ctrl-Alt-Reset, we're going to be talking with Kevin, who, when he had that experience, found that it awakened a number of psychic abilities that help him heal trauma that using conventional methods would take years. Additionally, we'll talk about how you can start listening to the pings of the universe on your own journey of awakening. I'm excited for you to join me, so let's meet our guest. My guest, Kevin. Hi, Kevin.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's very exciting to have you on the Ctrl-Reset podcast. We had met only one time before, and through a friend, Beth, also can channel. But when she talked to you and said, hey, I've got this friend who has this podcast, like, what did you think?
I thought that I felt very flattered in a way because it was very complimentary to the services, so to speak, that I was giving to people, and the fact that she felt that they were adequate enough to even be on a podcast.
She told me that like you were the real deal.
Well, I mean, that is validation right there.
Yeah.
For someone to say that to you as opposed to me saying it to you.
Yeah.
But she really did. She did say like, "Wow, I need to introduce you to." She actually gave me the information about you, and I didn't expect anything.
Well, and she like when I had her on my podcast, I think one person had reached out to her as a new client.
Oh, okay.
And so I hope, through the energy of this episode that you're able to get some additional clients and help additional people.
Yep.
But realistically, I think the listeners would love to hear a little bit about how this all started for you. I know that when you were, why don't I not ruin it and let you just, talk about naturally how this started for you.
Sure. And you're not ruining it. You're doing it perfectly. So there were just multiple occasions in my youth where I was getting these really weird admonitions or nudges, whatever you want to call them, where it wasn't daily, but it was regular, where I would just know that things were going to happen before they did, and they would. And they would be sometimes very specific and sometimes general, but it was more of just this pattern of me getting convinced that, wait a minute, did I just get a hit and this is going to happen? But it also kind of scared me a little, I guess, if I was being honest. Like, wait a minute, is this actually telling me that this is going to happen and I need to look out? And so I had this very vivid imagination. It's what I actually decided to go into for my career is in the creative world. But I've always had this vivid imagination. And so I had to realize at some point that some of this may be coming from my youthfulness, exploration, discovery of what it was, and also just validating, like more so if something was introduced that was going to happen, for me to kind of look around and see if it was going to, and if it didn't, then I would maybe like shelf that feeling and feel like, okay, that was my imagination. So there's a delineation between my imagination, wishful thinking, whatever it may be. Like, you have to at some point realize that it's not just coming from me, it's coming from somewhere else.
Now, so you're saying like your creativity and all of that creative juices were very much flowing through you. Like, how young were you when you actually had the first recollection of, I had a premonition and it came true?
I would probably say around 7 or 8.
So, well, it's young.
Yeah, and then it just kept going, but in like really, it was so sporadic.
May I ask, what was that premonition?
I think the one, so I would say the one that I probably use the most as an example is there was just one day I was walking to school. I don't know how old I was. It was, barely a teenager or whatever. And there was this, hey, here's a vision of what your classroom's going to look like. And there's going to be a substitute teacher standing in front of you. And not that that meant anything. In fact, there's absolutely no value to it other than the fact that I was being shown that that was going to happen. That was the value. But me showing up and seeing a substitute teacher standing in front of the class made me think twice.
Yeah.
Like, why did I think that? Where did it come from? And why do I even need to know this?
Yeah.
And that was where the dismissing started to come in. And that's what the dismissing not only came in from this isn't valuable, and it also came in from me thinking, hey, I'm a creative guy. I'm constantly thinking of like crazy things. I was an artist, so I was constantly just creating my drawings just out of the blue. And so I was thinking, this is the same. I'm creating things out of the blue. And so I had to dismiss it in order for me to not think any deeper than that. And also growing up religious, it almost kind of went against the grain of me even thinking that. And if I did actually believe what was happening, I would have to attribute it to something that was dogma.
Sure.
Which would mean that, am I more special than other kids? You know what I mean? So there was just a lot of dismissing going on.
And I mean, you're how old now?
You
could say roughly.
I'm not as old as like 55, but I'm also, just kidding. No, I'm probably, I don't know, I'm going on about 54.
All right. So you've lived through a time that, I mean, as I'm reading more, as I am, like, a lot of the information has already been discovered and put out there. But it's like, when I was going through this, there was no moment in my life until about like a couple years ago where I was even willing to entertain that this was actually something to acknowledge could be real.
Right.
Rather than like, that guy's crazy. Like, that was the default explanation of anything. And was that going through your head when like some of the things that you were experiencing were like, am I crazy? Or like, because that's the default answer to if you brought this up to anyone, right?
Yeah, I think I was so afraid of either being categorized as crazy or other people thinking that I was crazy that I would keep it to myself.
Yeah.
But when I was thinking about myself having these experiences, of course I thought like, oh, I'm probably crazy. But I didn't really truly believe that anything like this could even be happening to me. You read about it.
Yes.
You see it in the movies, which glamorizes it and it even romanticizes it, where you're like, oh my gosh, only like these beautiful connected people are the ones that are having these experiences. And it's in a movie and there's little sparkles around them and it's while they're in a dream, it's all these external experiences that they're having that you're not.
Yes.
These were just ordinary experiences of me either walking to school or like in like my house, just walking around. Something would just come to me. I'm like, just another thought, just pop it into my head. I'm always like thinking of weird things. And so, like I said, the dismissing part was way more in the forefront for me than the actual acceptance of it. And I don't want to skip ahead, but that didn't happen till a lot later in life.
Yeah. Well, it must have been. Was there any premonition that you had that, I mean, so you were dismissing this, and so even though you were getting hits that were accurate, the dismissing, because like that's what, in my experience, I now know, like, everything that I'm going and down the path of exploring is like all true. Like, the craziest thing that I have read about, like, it's all true.
Yeah.
Because, like, when I think about it and I manifest, and like, there's so many just not synchronicities, they're actual truths that
Hmm.
I've experienced where I'm like, okay, I can't just dismiss this
Right.
anymore.
Right.
So I guess, why don't we go into what event kind of made you unable to dismiss it anymore?
So it's a great question because really truly feels, now that I look back, that there was some level of preparation to get me here. And whether that's an insult or a compliment, I'm not sure, because did it take them 50 years to get me here? Maybe. Maybe I'm a little slow. I'm just kidding. But I feel like when I do look back at these instances, that they feel like they were preparatory states to get me to where I am. And then your question was, is it more about discernment?
When was the time where you're like, I can't
Oh, okay.
refute this. I can't reject or dismiss it away anymore.
So there were multiple things that happened, that started to get a little bit stronger. Back in 2017, 1 year before my dad even passed, and I won't get into the story because this is actually another podcast that you could have.
Sweet.
I stayed in the most haunted hotel in the United States, in the most haunted room, but I didn't mean to.
You didn't mean to?
No, my work booked me this hotel for a conference,
What?
and
You weren't there, and like, was it
no,
a tourist attraction? Were people
for
on
some
your
people,
work playing a joke on you?
for some people, I don't want to plug anything right now, but this was in Austin, Texas, and
Okay.
I just showed up. It was 3 a.m. It felt eerie. I felt, you know, this is where things started to change, going from thinking things to actually feeling things.
Okay.
And that's where it started for
Okay.
me. Is not started, but I started to notice a little bit more, like, this is actually real. Um, didn't know that I was in the most haunted room until the last day of the conference. I had stayed in this room for a week, and one of the attendees was showing me pictures on their camera of all they were photographers, so they were like, look at all these cool pictures I took. I took a picture next to this painting from the 1800s, and this, I was like, oh, those are really cool. And she goes, and here's me in front of room 525. I'm like, why is she in front of my room?
Yeah.
And she goes, did you get a picture in front of this room? And I go, no, that's my room. And she goes, no, it's not. And I'm like, no, I'm staying in this. I've been in here the whole week. And she goes, this is the most haunted room in the hotel. Everybody requests this room. Everybody wants to stay in it. There's a long list of people who are wanting to get into it. And you're in it? I'm like, yeah, I didn't even ask for it either. But what I can say is that when I was in that room, before I found out that it was even haunted, or even any information about the room or the hotel, again, that's a totally different podcast.
Nice.
It's a very interesting hotel. I felt something the split second I even walked in, didn't feel like I was alone.
Okay.
And it almost felt like there was a communication that was trying to happen with me. Like, they felt like there was something inside me that would notice them, something that would acknowledge their presence, because there was 100,000% a presence in that room.
Whoa.
And it wasn't just one, but I knew. So I did, I'll be transparent. I slept with the lights on because, again, I didn't know it was haunted, but I felt it.
Yeah.
And there was just this feeling that I was never alone
Before
in that
you
room.
were told that it was
Before
haunted?
I was told, yeah.
You slept with the lights on.
I wasn't told it was haunted until the very last day.
Yeah.
It was checkout day.
Okay.
So I was like, not going to stay there again.
Yeah.
I had already like done my service in that room.
Yeah.
But I felt something every time I walked into that room. And it wasn't just a feeling. It felt like when I slept, there was someone standing around me. And I felt like when I walked into the bathroom, like there was someone outside of that room. And it turns out, again, one of the crazy things about this room is Annie Lennox from Eurythmics.
Yeah.
She was performing nearby or in that actual hotel. She stayed in this room, and she was about to perform, and I guess she didn't know what outfit to wear for her performance, and she put 2 outfits on the bed, went to take a shower, and came back into the room, and only one outfit was on the bed. And she goes, okay, I guess this is the outfit I'm going to wear. So I stayed in the same room that she stayed in, but thousands of other people have stayed in. But I think that's when I really, truly woke up,
Yeah.
because I knew that
More than this was just a fashion choosing ghost.
exactly, yeah. Someone who was a fan of Sweet Dreams Are Made of These. This was actually something that it flowed through me. It woke me up, and it made me, first off, I mean, I have to be honest, I was absolutely terrified. And I've always been terrified. And I think that's when I've had discussions with other people who do what I do, there's always been this aversion for me to watch any kind of supernatural evil movies type of thing.
Yeah.
So that's what I attributed that room to. Is like, I'm feeling like some supernatural feelings in this room, not there's some sort of communication trying to happen with me.
Right, because when you think about it, you think about all the things that in the pop culture, all the movies of ghosts and like hauntings and stuff like that, and they always make it seem evil and they're apt to no good. And
Correct.
But if we really think about it, and what you experienced now, like 300 and some odd times or something, they're just humans that are not of this plane.
Correct.
Trying to communicate something.
Yeah.
It's a lot more empathy. Like you can feel for them a little bit more than like that's a scary ghost that's just trying to hurt me. Like
correct.
So that was your first like I can't reject this anymore.
Can't reject this anymore. And then 1 year later is when my dad passed. Almost like exactly a year. So
okay.
There was almost like a preparation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't you take us to that? And was there anything special about your father passing that kind of struck you as interesting? Or was it then later when kind of things started to happen?
So another great question, because the varying levels of feelings that you get from these different experiences. So, you can experience, a feeling of walking into a room after somebody fought, and you kind of feel that like really negative, like electric energy, like, oh, what just happened in here?
Yeah.
And you can do the same with happiness.
Yeah.
But when I felt the presence in this hotel, as scared as I was, I got familiar with it.
Okay.
I got familiar with someone on the other side being around me all the time.
Yeah.
Didn't like it,
Yeah.
but I was familiar with it.
Yeah.
We were all there when my dad passed. There was quite a few of us, actually. And I did notice that when he passed, without getting into any details or, talking about like, I guess any of the logistics around like how everything happened, the cut to the end was when he did pass, there was a very tangible exiting. And I saw the life, the essence, his spirit. And when I say it was more like I experienced his essence leaving, and I saw exactly where it went. There was
Where'd it go?
Well, in the human realm, he went through the wall straight ahead. But
Okay. All right.
there was this tangible feeling of like his mother, both of his parents passed a while ago. Absolutely felt them in the room. And without even seeing them, I knew that there was a tangible visitation of them just waiting for him to exit. And even though I wasn't, again, connecting the dots at the time, I'm connecting them now. And I remember that feeling that I had when I was in that hotel, was probably the closest thing I could draw on to like, wow, those were spirits in that hotel. This felt like spirits now. Um, and it being obviously my father passing, something I had never experienced that close. You know, I've had grandmas pass and I've had friends and stuff like that, but nothing like a parent. And that was, you know, obviously emotionally charged. And it did absolutely take some of, you know, takes your essence away.
Yeah.
You're like, what? You're in a little bit of a shock or a lot of shock. And so there was that mixed with that experience that I had with the spiritual side of it. When we went to his funeral, um, I had we were just right down the road from where he passed away in his house, which was where my mom still lived. Somebody forgot something and they needed it for the program, and so I said, "Don't worry, I'll rush back and get it." I went to my mom's house. I was the only one in the house. Everyone was at the funeral, just kind of waiting for it to begin. And I grabbed the item that needed to be in the program, and then I realized I didn't have my wedding ring on. And I'm like, I just felt like I needed everything together on that day. Like I
Sure.
didn't want to be like absent out of anything. I just needed like security,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So I went to go grab my ring. It wasn't there. And I go, I don't know why. I just go, "Hey, Dad, I know you're here. I can feel you." I really did. I really could feel him. I go, "Can you tell me where my wedding ring is?"
Yeah.
It was in the most random place that you could ever think of, a place I would never have put it. It was, he said clearly where it was. Like, it's in the third zipper in your suitcase, but it's behind this blue cloth. And if you reach down far enough, you'll feel it, kind of thing. It was
Oh.
very specific. And so I go, what have I got to lose? The funeral's going to start. That really sounded like my dad.
Yeah.
And I know he's here. So I went and I did exactly what he said. And there was my wedding ring. I have no idea how it got there,
What?
but it was exactly where he said it was. And I said, thank you. Thank you for telling me where that was. And I put it on and we went to the funeral. So it was starting, as you can see, it's starting to slowly unfold. I
Yeah.
mean, in retrospect, you know, 1 year, 4 years, it's really not slow. It's not fast, but it is slowly unfolding to the point where things are becoming more and more clear for me.
Yeah. So the day of the funeral, you actually hear his voice. How did that sound? Like, was it in your head, like he was talking behind you or in front of you, or like just his voice was all around you?
It's very similar to what I'm doing right now with my clients. You hear it like almost mentally you hear it. It's almost like if you're talking to yourself in your head. Um, or let's say like if you're trying to impersonate somebody or impersonate a song, you hear that person's voice in your head and you do your best to sound like that.
Yeah.
That is what I heard. It wasn't my voice. It wasn't me saying, "Oh, it's over here in the suitcase. Look over there." It was like, "It's clearly here. Go there." And it was clearly his voice.
Hmm.
The way that they work is they don't always like the movies where they're like Obi-Wan Kenobi or Yoda. Like you can see them standing over there telling them. You know, it's not like that, but you just know by the the cadence and by the just there is sound, but it's more of a vibration.
Okay. It's more, I mean, because you're not hearing anything. Your ears aren't hearing a vibration. It's, I mean, I know I've heard the voices, I forgot this, and like me talking to myself, and I very much sound like myself.
Right.
But I've heard other voices, like my mom, have you done this, and like
Correct.
that voice. Although that I would attribute to just me mocking my mom, like impersonating her voice in my head as that voice of like worry or
Right.
whatever.
But it's not yours.
But I know, yeah.
It's your mom's voice having a conversation with you, and she's not there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So then that took place at the funeral. How many times, or if any, were you able to hear your father's voice, and where did you hear those voices until what happened when, your wife told me it was kind of startling.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, lead us up to that part.
Yeah, so again, I wasn't connecting the dots like clearly, like maybe one or two dots. Like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm seeing that this is not a coincidence, but that's about as many dots as I connected. I would say there were more like synchronicities that were happening,
Mm-hmm.
but I now know like the sequence that happens when people pass and what they do after they pass and where they go and I don't want to say activities, but the activities that they engage in, there's a sequence, and it's not like they die and they just hang out and they go
I
sit
want
on
to
a
ask
park
you
bench.
about that after.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
no problem.
yeah,
They don't just go sit on a park bench like Forrest Gump and wait for you to contact them.
yeah.
They're not bored. They're not doing it. So I would say that I had multiple synchronicities, whether it was music or things that reminded me of him, just all the time. And there were some times where I would feel almost like he was there next to me, feel his presence. But once again, this wasn't like, hey, I'm going to become a psychic medium, or anything like that, or become a spiritual practitioner. It's just my dad passed. I miss him. He probably feels that, and he's showing up to comfort me. That
Yeah.
was the extent of it.
Yeah.
So fast forward so he passed away at the end of 2018. Fast forward to the middle of 2021. Um, do you want me to get into that story?
Yes.
Okay. So, and again, I'll try and keep this succinct as possible, because it's a very, it's a beautiful story, and there's so many details to it. But what I'm going to do is just give you the bullet points.
Sure.
And the
And
the
is this
relevant
hard
ones.
to talk about?
No, not at all. But I
Okay.
think what happens with me is, according to like the audience that I'm talking to,
Sure.
I'll share different pieces of the story.
Gotcha.
So knowing the audience and who and what's going to be listening to this, the intent of it, my basically, without any kind of expectation, any kind of provoking anything, my wife and I and some friends, we were just out in Joshua Tree, which is known as a vortex.
Yeah.
In a way, like an
Yeah.
energy vortex.
For sure.
Multiple people have said that, and kind of like Sedona or whatever. So we were out there, and so that kind of was, one of the little bits and pieces that maybe helped this happen. So it was evening, and we're just like kind of hanging out, waiting for an event to start that night with all of our friends. And we were all in like campers, and we were just kind of hanging out. And Destiny and I were just like, just chilling before the night, because I guess it was going to be like an extensive night. And I was looking out the window, and I noticed that the sunset it looked almost like the light was alive. It looked like it felt different than other nights. And we started to we just put on some music while we're getting ready and stuff. And all of a, all of a sudden, the song that is my dad's song just popped on the radio or on our Spotify, whatever, shuffle list. And I was like, oh, nice. I love this song. Didn't think anything of it. And then all of a sudden, I started to feel like a lot of anxiety inside me. I started to feel like a little bit uneasy.
Okay.
That feeling that you want to get away from where you are.
Okay.
And so I told Destiny I just needed to lay down. And she goes, we don't have much to do. I'll lay down with you. And so a couple minutes in, I just started to feel very emotional. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. This is very interesting. And she thought it was very interesting too. She's like, I've never seen you like this. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And all of a sudden, when I looked up, and I'm skipping a lot of parts, but when I looked up, right in front of us. We're laying in the bed, so I'm looking at my feet and the bottom of the bed. The bed went almost up against the wall, and then about a foot and a half over to the left is the doorway. And as I'm laying in the bed, I can see my feet and my wife's feet, and all of a sudden I see my dad's image. His spirit was standing in the doorway smiling. When he passed away, he was 79. When he appeared, he was in his 30s.
Wow.
He had dealt with baldness for almost his entire adult life. And he wasn't bald. He had a full head of hair. He looked like he was about 30, between 30, 33. And
Was this like Obi-Wan Kenobi?
very much, actually.
Did it have like an aura?
Yes, it did. It did.
Ooh.
It was very much like Obi-Wan,
awesome.
but it wasn't blue. It was
Okay.
gold.
Gold. All right.
He was glowing gold. It started at white, almost like the whitest you could possibly think. He was wearing like a white polo and like kind of off-white pants, but like tan. But it was very like just very simple. But he was glowing white, and then out it went into like a fade of gold, and then there were little like white orbs coming off of him, and then they would fade when they were like maybe a foot away from his head, and he was just standing there smiling at me, and I'm like, this isn't real.
Yeah.
And I look back up, and he's still there. I'm like, oh God, what do I do? What am I supposed to do? And then he started talking to me, and
Are you still feeling this, like, I want to get out of here feeling?
No.
No.
So
as soon as you saw him.
This was fear, but it was curiosity at the same time. And it was also, and I'll tell you this in a second, my wife didn't see him.
Right.
But I turned to her and I said, my dad is standing in the doorway right now.
Yeah.
And I think I got emotional from it because it was absolutely 1,000,000% real. We were fully awake. I wasn't having a dream or anything. And he sent, before he started talking to me, he sent this. It's so hard to explain because it was the most beautiful feeling I've ever felt in my life.
Oh.
It was the feeling of unconditional love, is what he told me it was. And it was just this, there's no negativity in any way, shape, or form. It was just beautiful, but more beautiful than you can ever imagine.
Yeah.
It was such a pure feeling. This came just without me even asking, and then he started speaking to me. But his mouth never moved. He was just smiling the whole time. But what he was doing was sending me impressions. They were images, they were videos, they were...
Telepathy?
What's that?
Telepathy?
Yes, very much so, like 100%.
Yeah.
There was no audible because Destiny cannot hear me.
Yeah.
But what I was doing though is I was answering him out loud.
Sure. The only way you know how.
Right, exactly. And she was like, "What is he saying?" And I would turn to her and tell her. She would obviously, without being able to see him, she was going through some like processing of her own, but also comforting and supporting me. The crazy thing, I guess, going along with what you said about telepathy, is she started to have her own thoughts about the whole thing. And she was having questions.
I like when I first met you, I was talking with your wife in your kitchen, and she told this whole story. And the way she described it was that I wanted to know if my husband was going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
She was getting worried. She was getting fearful. And those were the thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And then it,
Understandably.
Yeah.
I would think the same of her. I'd be like, what did she do?
Yeah. That's right.
What do you do? What's going on?
What's happening? And she made a conscious request. And I'm hoping that you can describe that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. And she tells it better than me because it's something that happened to her, but it was her own experience. But before my dad passed, my wife whispered something in his ear while he was still alive, in his hospice room. She whispered in his ear when no one was around, just her and him, like, "Thank you for giving me your son." And she said that multiple times while she was there. I didn't know she said that. She never told me she said it. And when this was happening, this exchange with my dad, and I'll just cut to the bottom line. This happened for about 4 hours. It was
Whoa.
going on for that long, but it didn't feel like 4 hours it wasn't, it didn't feel like time had passed. Like when it passed, I was sad that it was over.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like 4 hours. It felt like 4 minutes, if that. But one of one of the more beautiful things that happened was as her thoughts started processing and questions were going through her mind about what was going on, I paused and I turned to her to answer a question she had said in her head, not out loud, asking to my dad. And I turned to her and I said, he said, thank you for giving me your son.
Yeah.
I had no idea what that meant.
Right.
I had no idea where it came from or why he said it or why. And she started just sobbing.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you okay? She goes, yeah, that is what I said to your dad before he passed. And I don't know how you would have known that. And so it was also just, for me, it was validation that because obviously, when you're going through these things, you're like, I'm the greatest, most powerful person alive. You're like, I'm the craziest person alive. I don't think I'm going to tell anybody about this.
Yeah.
So those things happened a couple times though, where she started asking questions. And it happened for like maybe 10 or 15 minutes where she was actually asking him questions and I was turning and answering. But that was the first thing that happened. And she goes, oh, that's possible.
Yeah.
So she started asking questions and I would turn and tell her and they were all relevant. They weren't like, what color is the sky? Blue. It wasn't like that. It was
Right.
like relevant questions for her. And I think she was trying to get validation as well, but we both felt it.
Yeah.
And I saw it.
Yeah. So now that experience has woken you up, shaken you to your core, but you now have your wife to share this experience with, someone as a sounding board to validate that this wasn't your imagination. No matter how creative you are, you were telling her things that you would not have known in any circumstance.
No.
I'm getting a mental energy of just tingliness right now, just talking to you. But so that happened. Were you immediate? What were your immediate thoughts? What after that happened? What did you and your wife talk about?
I mean, because we went through it together, that was probably one of the more special things about it because there were two perspectives.
Yeah.
There was one who didn't get to experience the actual visuals like I did, but she also got to experience what I was experiencing. And like I said, we both felt it.
Yeah.
The special part about it was that we were able to, she didn't have to sit and listen to me recant. We were talking about it together and we recorded it. We have it somewhere, like 3-4 hours of just going through everything that happened, why it happened. But for me, I can say that without any kind of hesitancy or doubt, the craziest thing that happened, in addition to me feeling that unconditional love, which felt very divine, it felt heavenly, it felt like something I haven't really felt since. I mean, I have, but not to that extent. This felt like it was a gift. Like he said, I'm going to show you what unconditional love felt like. And just a little context, I was a middle child. I'm a middle child of many kids. There was 8 kids, but I was the 7th. In the 7th, before the last one came, I was the middle child.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Sure.
I said all the numbers. Hopefully everyone can put it together.
The middle of 8.
Yeah, that was middle
hard.
of 8 doesn't really.
It doesn't really
middle
fit.
of 7 works. Yeah. So, but that being said, there was a little bit of this. I always kind of felt in a way left out when I was growing up. And it was there was the older kids in the front end and then the younger kids at the tail end. And I was kind of in the middle, like I'm trying to be friends with the older ones, trying to, kind of almost parentify the younger ones because so many kids. But that left me feeling like I never really took care of myself. And so part of this, I think, unconditional love that my dad was giving me was to show me that I did matter, that there was never an intention for him to forget me or to leave me behind. That but when they pass away, they know the truth. They don't have to go searching for answers. They just know. And it's not like hidden in a book. It's just everything's revealed. So he knew that that's how I've always felt. And there was a really interesting thing that happened that blew my mind. There was, it almost felt like if my heart or my body had like a switchboard and there was a lot of on switches for trauma. It felt like he went through and turned off about half of them to the off because I didn't feel it anymore.
Yeah.
Not only did I receive that unconditional love, he turned off all the trauma and the pain that was associated with some of the things that happened when I was a child. Nothing malicious. It was just kind of like, little things fell through the cracks, and that's how it worked. So there was some healing that happened. And when right before he left in the vision in that night in the 2021, there was something that he said to me, or he gave me the impression, or it was almost like a admonition for me is, do you feel these healing feelings? And I was like, yes, I do. And I don't understand how you just turn them off, because these are years of therapy that I needed to go through in order to turn them off. He says, that's what I want you to do for other people. And he goes, start with your kids, and also kind of go out and just heal other people if you can. If you know, yeah, he wasn't like doubting me, but he's like, I've given it to you. Now it's up to you to go do something with it.
Okay. So he kind of did give you a little bit of a push into this area. Do you think if he had not said that, you would have gone into this and understood I can help a lot of people? Or would you just have that experience, be like, that was such an awesome experience, I'm going to keep that all to myself?
Probably the latter.
Yeah.
Because when something like that would happen to, I would say 100% of anybody on this planet, there would be some sort of processing and interpretation of why it happened to you. And for him to tack that on the end and say, now go help other people, it meant something, but not right after it happened.
Yeah.
I didn't think anything of it back then. Once again, you can see my pattern of not connecting the dots at first.
Sure.
But I didn't really need to connect the dots yet, because how could I all of a sudden be like, okay, I saw my dad, I'm going to go out and do this? There was still some very apparent preparation things that had to happen for me to get to where I'm now. And so the healing part didn't really make any sense to me, because for me to say like, that's great. I mean, I just had a divine entity come and heal me. I'm not divine. How do I go heal people? That thought came to my head like maybe once. And then I dismissed it and just thought of what you said. The latter part is, that was a beautiful experience. And I'm going to, share it with a select few, and that's it.
Yeah. Did you and your wife talk about that last kind of statement or request that your father had made of you?
Recently we have, yes.
Okay.
But before that, though, we just talked about the amount of healing that he did inside me.
Okay. All right. So you left that part out where he's like, go and spread this love to the world.
But it wasn't like a Moses holding the Ten Commandments type of moment. It was more of do you think you can remember this unconditional love feeling? And I'm like, I'll never forget it. Do you think you can understand and remember the feeling of what it feels like to be healed?
Yeah.
I go, I think I can. And he goes, okay, well, that's what you need to do for other people. And he even showed me his face, and this is going to sound really crazy, but this is what happened. His face morphed into one of my son's faces and said, start with him. Make sure that you don't do what, because he was like, I can hear your thoughts. I know what's inside you. You can't hide anything from me. I know what happened in your childhood. I wanted to come. And he wasn't really saying, I'm sorry. He was just mitigating everything.
Yeah.
Not everything, but, as much as he possibly could.
Yeah.
Or at least the things he thought that were relevant in order for me to move forward.
Yeah.
And he said, do the same.
With your son's face.
With my, he morphed really quick and then went back to himself. But then it was more about, now you are familiar with these feelings. Share it with others.
Nice. I would love to understand what things you had to do, you said, in order to prepare yourself to have these conversations. Did you, like, the fact that your son's face came into your view, was that kind of I gotta do these things and then talk to my son, or did you talk to your son first and then you were like, I can do this. I'm gonna help people? Or
so it's interesting that you said that, because I was just kind of thinking of the sequence of events. What actually happened was, this was also another awakening for me. Is there were pushes, because even though it was such a beautiful experience, like you said, and I think you said it very perfectly, is that was a great experience. And I think I'm going to hold on to that. I'll never forget it, obviously. And going back to the healing part, I don't think I knew what even step to take first, if any step.
Sure.
So the crazy thing was, and this is something I don't really talk to anybody about, but my son approached me about healing.
Okay.
That year, a couple of months later. It was the son that he morphed into.
And had you talked about anything?
Nope.
Nothing.
No. My
okay.
son and I had a very in-depth, it went on for a little bit, but it was like moments and like one time, but it was, my son had written an expressive letter of some of the things that he was just struggling with, kind of things that he needed to heal with, and shared that with me. And that's just a couple months after my dad. So it was either like my dad was like, you're not doing anything, so I'm going to have your son step in the path, because this is what needs to happen.
Yeah.
And so that happened. And again, didn't connect the dots, because again, there was no grand picture yet. It was just like, why are these things happening? I love it, but why are they happening? And this was all during COVID too, where we were all in survival mode, where we're like, just stay away from me. I don't want to get around people. So it was almost like there was a when the time was right feeling.
Yeah.
Because for me going out, this was still like everyone's wearing masks and everything. So the reality was, I'm not going to be doing this soon. Even if I knew what that was, I wasn't going to be doing it, because the world was closed down. So
Sure.
There was just this kind of pause on it. But when I would say a year later, I somehow, some way, and here's the full circle. A friend of ours started talking about his experience of, this is so random, but he started talking about this experience, and I didn't even put this together until now. Okay, this is great. This hopefully makes for a good podcast.
All right,
so he started talking about his experiences, and this had nothing to do with anything that I hadn't even shared this with him yet. Like my whole experience with my father appearing to me. He just was randomly telling me about his ghost stories that he's had in his life and all the different weird things that he's experienced. He goes, but the worst one that I've ever had and the scariest one I've ever had was at this hotel in Austin, Texas. And I'm like, tell me about this. He told me all about it. And then he named the hotel. And that was the one I stayed in 2017. And that conversation was overheard by some people that we were sitting around like a campfire or whatever. And one of the people in our group, who's a really dear friend of ours, he goes, you really should go talk to one of my mentors, a spiritual mentor. He's a psychic medium. He's in the UK. He has a 3-year waiting list. And you might as well, just put your name on the list, and maybe he'll get around to you. So I did, and I think the intake asked if I knew anybody, and I threw his name, dropped his name, and he was like, "Oh, I'll take you right now."
Nice.
So I got taken immediately, like maybe like a week, 2 weeks later.
Wow.
And he had this kind of intake form of like, "Are you even qualified to be talking to me right now?" type of list.
Right.
And I passed every single one of them. And he goes, "Okay, so what do you want to do now? Can we put some structure around this?" And I'm like, "I don't know what that looks like, but these things will not stop happening to me.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do."
Yeah. So at that point, you were directed through nothing that you had done, directed to someone who was this like the main person who really helped launch you into your current paradigm?
Yeah, you're talking about the mentor in the
Yeah,
UK?
yeah.
Correct. Yes, he's probably the number one that not only took me and helped me. There was a lot of forming that needed to happen.
Sure.
A lot of just embryonic things that were starting to like either come alive or they were just like dormant. And he took everything that was dormant. He took everything that were embryos. He took all of the kind of hidden things that I didn't even know that were in me and started to quiz me. And sometimes it was a little painful, like just drawing things out and seeing if I had the capability of doing it. Because obviously, if I were in his shoes and I was doing some mentoring for someone who wanted to expand their spirituality, and they weren't there,
Yeah.
or they weren't qualified, I wouldn't waste my time. But he was painfully, like, because he believed in me and just was taking me through, and we were meeting regularly, and it was really rocky at first, to be honest.
What kind of things was he having you do, or what was he pulling out of you? Was it the capabilities, and so he was understanding the breadth of your abilities?
Yeah, it was the breadth of everything that I had. Basically, I handed him basically like not a literal folder, but a folder. I'm like, "Here's all the things that are going on with me," and for him to take a look at all that and try and make sense of it was a marvel to me. But he was able to make sense of it with, I guess, starting at the basics. Let's see if you can channel a person who has passed. And how would you do that, Kevin? And I'm like, "I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Do I just sit in silence? Do I ask for them to come?" He's like, well, let's see. And so it was such a basic approach at first, but I needed that.
Yeah.
And then it just got more and more advanced to where he almost graduated me from these different abilities and these different gifts to compound on each other. It wasn't like this one goes over here, you're done. This one they all played into each other.
So for the audience, what are the capabilities that you have understood you're able to do?
So again, this is relatively new to me.
Sure.
But it's not, because it's been a whole lifetime of preparation. But the practicing ones right now that are more forefront in my mind, I have the ability to know things before they happen. Obviously, that was happening to me as a child, but a little bit more so now. Someone could say, "Do you know what are your impressions of XYZ happening?" Or I need this with I need kind of an answer for this issue or whatever. I can tap into those types of things and either provide an answer or provide a different perspective. Before it was the different kinds of channeling is the receptive and the expressive, and the receptive is where I was hanging out for like 50 years. And that's just basically like, it just comes.
Yeah.
You're in the grocery store and you get hit.
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, that was weird."
Yeah.
But he was taking me into the expressive one, which is how do I initiate it myself at any given time whenever I want?
Yeah.
So he was moving me from the receptive into the expressive channeling.
Okay.
And so the ability to call up, it's not just people who have passed, but that was the focus at first, because that's the more challenging, I guess, because going back to what I said in the very beginning about my imagination being so, like, I have this vivid imagination. I had, and this also is playing into the hardest part about all this training, was trying to have that line of, this is my imagination, this is actually something I'm just hoping or wishing for, and this is actually what's happening. So which one do I trust?
Yeah.
And so that was the probably hardest, most painful, rockiest, uphill, against the stream training I had, is that discernment.
So does it feel different?
Yes, it does. All they, you mean like, do they all the,
Like your imagination.
yeah, they're all different.
They're all different.
Yeah, you have to, well, some people are just capable of doing it without, but I think because of my imagination and the fact that I knew that I had an imagination, I didn't want to do this if it wasn't accurate.
Sure.
And I'm not even talking like 99% accurate. I'm talking 100% accurate. I don't want to give anybody information if I'm not sure.
Sure.
Why do it then,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, if this is partially true, you pick out which one's true, right?
That's right.
So the pain was coming from me pushing myself to the point where I had to do a lot of pause. I had to do a lot of listening. I had to do a lot of, I guess, like measuring of. It all started. I mean, I would say the best way to, if anyone were interested in getting to this, would be starting with a deduction process.
Okay.
So I want this. Okay, let's check it off. It's not
Okay.
it's not from spirit.
Okay.
Or I see a dragon with fire coming out of its mouth and it's representing you. It's like, is that my imagination? And maybe it's not my imagination, but the feeling that you get that's associated with these impressions that come through are different.
Okay. Okay. So you're developing kind of your repertoire. You're building on all of the feeling and being very sensitive to what those energies feel like, so that you're able to learn to trust your abilities.
Mm-hmm.
And then when did you start accepting clients? Like, did it first start within your immediate family? Like, did you said you'd kind of talk to your son? Was that where it started, or were you just like, all right, I'm gonna start seeing clients and helping them out with their problems, and I'll see where it goes?
Yeah, it's not something that I actually told the conversation I had with my son was more about a healing that needed to happen. I'm not saying that he healed 100% or if he, what percentage he did heal, at what level he's healed, but the conversation was about that.
Yeah.
The topic was about healing. But my point is, there wasn't any kind of initiation that I took in order to get it. It was like, okay, if you're not going to do this, we'll do it for you. That is exactly what happened here. Is my wife walked me over to the deep end and like kicked me in. She just goes, I have a friend, and her friend had a very sudden tragic death of her son, and we should do a reading for her. Right before this, though, I would say a couple months before. No, this actually happened before I was outed. Somebody outed me.
Accidentally?
Yeah. Somebody outed me as a psychic medium, and then things blew up. But that's a couple months down the road. So this was actually just like very out of the blue. Like, we have a friend. She needs you to. I already had been doing this, like the training, for at least a year.
Okay.
So
Meeting every week or so.
it was regular. Sometimes it was more than once a month, but I would say the cadence was like once a month.
Okay.
And then we would compound on each one. It wasn't like the same visit. It was like each one got more and more powerful to the point where they became less and less. And then all of a sudden, he's like, you have to go do this even more so. But when my wife kicked me into the deep end for the very first reading that I ever did, there actually was one. Do we have time for me to share just like one?
Sure.
Okay.
I think.
Are we doing okay on time?
I think we're good on time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll just be really succinct about this, but there was a very dear friend of mine at work who showed up in a very distraught state and wasn't really talking to anybody. And after meeting, I just said, "Hey, are you okay? Is everything okay?" As I was talking to her, this image came up in my head, and I had already been. I've been going to the training. Hadn't been talking to anybody. Didn't tell anybody I was going to the training. Nobody knew, only Destiny. And all of a sudden, I got this image of someone who had just passed away, and it was a younger guy, and he didn't have a smile on his face. And I go, "Are you having some issues right now with like did someone pass away in your life?" And I started to feel like someone on TV, like when they just out of the blue start talking to someone about a dead relative or someone who passed away recently. And she goes, how did you know?" And I go, I don't, but I feel it.
Yeah.
And I started to describe what I saw to her. And it turned out to be, like it was a suicide. And I got to see like how he took his life. And I explained it to her, and she goes, what's going on? How do you know all this? I'm like, it's just coming to me. And then I talked about his personality to her, and she started sobbing. And I go, "What's going on? Like, I understand you're sad, but what's..." She pulled out the program guide for his funeral, and almost everything that I had just listed about his personality was in his paragraph, the about me paragraph. And so I was like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. I feel confident in, like, at least getting my foot in the door, and then seeing how much more my body I can get in at some point. But I have to start somewhere, right? And it was coming so naturally, and it was kind of like I was in the middle of the receptive and the expressive state. So I was in the middle. I wasn't completely in the expressive yet, because I didn't even ask to see him. It just came to me.
Yeah.
But what happens usually when you start doing this work, there's a beacon, so to speak, or some sort of opening, or you're like glowing to the other side, and they know that you can see these things. And so it's like the movie Ghost.
Yeah.
They all knew Whoopi Goldberg could talk to people, and it got more and more and more. And it's very much like that. It's really crazy, because once I talked to her, it was like maybe a week or two after is when I had my first reading.
Okay.
So it was just like kind of transpiring naturally.
Yeah.
When I had this very first reading, he came through. Her son came through, and I described what he looked like, and I described his personality, and I described all of these details. There's no way, I didn't even know her, and it was just kind of coming through very naturally for me. And I was, building trust with them, and they were on the other side, and the other side was building trust with me as I was articulating this information that there's no way I could have Googled or anything. So that's just how they work, is when you listen and you accurately articulate what they're telling you, or the impressions that you're getting, and you interpret them correctly, because there have been times where I've interpreted them wrong, where I'm like, I feel like there's, XYZ, and they're like, no, it's ABC. And they do that.
They
to
will
me.
even clarify.
They will correct me. And so when I was describing all this information, and this person, this mother walked away feeling like she's like, I feel like I had 20 therapy sessions. I didn't know what I was really doing, to be honest. At the time, looking back, I felt very confident, but I didn't know what I was doing. That was my very first one.
And so you took the skills of the processes, of the feelings, and then you really helped somebody with their own trauma. You had never met them before, but in that one session, how long did that session go on for?
It was just an hour.
So in 1 hour, you were able to provide so much release and trauma healing that did it signal to you like, okay, I am now helping. Like this is what I'm meant to do.
Yeah, there was a feeling of things locked in right
Yeah.
after that. Like things were okay. Did you get an idea of how that felt? Because that is what you need to keep doing.
Yeah. Did you remember your dad's kind of?
You know what? It's funny you asked that because I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't remember that until I had these consistent reviews of my sessions with people coming back, and they kept using the word I feel healed, or there's something inside me that healed and I can't explain it type of thing. And of course, I'm just being very succinct with what the reviews were. But when I started to see the word healing and people saying that they feel like something different happened inside them, that maybe they're therapist. Not there's anything wrong with therapists, but they're two different mentalities. That's when I put it together.
Nice. I mean, for someone to go through their whole life having little pings, not really understanding that, and then having this experience with your father that woke you up to, wow, I actually can receive, and then developing the capabilities that now allow you to heal people on an energetic level. I mean, I guess there's no other way to say that, is that the impact you create is lasting. It's not, if I remember it, then I'll be healed. Like, with a
Right.
lot of psychotherapy and things, is like, oh, I remember what that guy told me.
Right. Let
and
me
you're
look at
trying to
my
remember,
notebook.
right?
Yeah.
Remember all the things that you've talked about, and then you can practice a new way of being. But that's not what you're doing. You're actually healing the frequency of that trauma in their being,
Yeah.
and so then it's gone. That's so awesome.
It's connecting the dots again is what you just said is exactly what my father was telling me to do.
Yeah.
Is to do it, and now I realized now, but I also realized, since I've been doing this, that is the value, part of the value. It's not just, let me see if I can get your father, your grandfather, your grandma to come through and I'll tell you if she's doing okay. Because anybody can say that. Anybody could say, I feel your grandma and she's in peace and she's thriving.
Yeah.
I'm a psychic medium.
That's right.
It's not how it works. You can say that all you want, and it's really not adding that healing element. Sure, maybe some people, and I'm not putting anybody down. I just want to make that clear.
Sure. You're just calling out a distinction of your experience.
Correct. Yeah. There's with me, when I do anything, I really like to, one, feel like I'm a contributor, but not just a partial contributor. I like to feel like I'm doing it 100%. And I also want to make sure that I'm doing it accurately. And if those two are missing, then I either need to pivot or I need to mitigate whatever is not creating that experience. But when I do this, I can honestly say that there has never been a time where I have intentionally tried to fill in the gaps by giving partial truths or anything like that. If I feel like it might be a partial truth, meaning it's not clear, I don't say it.
Yeah. I mean, from what I've learned is that quality is probably what has helped the other side focus their attention on you.
It is about trust. We may feel like
and the intention, I think the intention
is
of doing
huge.
good and serving others,
Mm-hmm.
not just for the capability of calling yourself a medium and then getting fame and glory. Like there's a lot of other mediums and stuff that talk about this. They're like, I didn't do this for fame. And it's like, that quality actually helps that energy come through you. Because if there is a distortion, if like um, the energy that you're receiving is not what then you are purveying, it doesn't come through you very much anymore.
Correct. Yeah.
And so you have to open up, because if like as your dad had given you that gift of unconditional love, there is no ego, there is no I am better than you. Like there's just this experience of love between beings.
Correct. Yeah. And going back to what you're saying earlier, is there is a trust building every single time I have a session. I'm either building trust or I'm showing trust and they're showing it back to me. But if I were to, let's say, like start making stuff up or trying to inflate my ego by convincing people that I do this and I am great and I'm not a vessel, I am the powerful one, there's no fooling them.
Yeah.
And the trust goes out the window.
Yeah.
And thank God I haven't been like, haven't tested. Well, this was a very clear message at the very beginning. If you're going to do this, just do it right and do it with trust.
Yeah.
And they operate, not just the people who have passed, but the higher levels, the higher source, all of that is not of this world. They operate in integrity.
Yeah.
First off, they don't know any falsehoods. There's nothing hidden from them, so there's no reason for them to operate in anything other than that. But when we operate in that and we expect them to give us those, for us to be a conduit or to be a vessel for them, they're going to be like, no.
Yeah. Some like video I had seen, and this was actually somebody who wasn't a vessel, wasn't trying to be a vessel, but or channeler or anything like that, but they had a DMT experience. DMT, ditryptomethyl, whatever. It's the chemical inside our own brain.
Yep.
That's like a near-death experience that allows you to perceive things that you're not normally able to perceive. And they met a being that was like, are you ready to receive the power? Or do you want to serve people? And he said, yes, I'm ready to serve. And the guy's like, but you're not. I still know that you're after ego, like you're trying to build yourself up for the fame, for this outward appearance of being better than. But at the same time, he's like, okay, here is how you can develop yourself to let go of those egotistical elements that are blocking you from actually being powerful. Did you have any of those things within yourself that you felt needed to be healed before you could honestly and with integrity serve?
100%. And they're probably going to be there until the day I die.
Yeah.
It's anything that is not based in integrity, or it's my own healing. And really what it is anything that's getting in the way from me giving a clear message, which could even be like, I'm distraught over something. Something could have happened to me that is really just occupying my mind and I can't get it out of my mind. I'm not going to do a reading during that time.
Okay.
But there is a gigantic ego death that I am aware of every single day. It's either chipping away, and sometimes it's like huge, giant, like, icebergs melting in the sea, just falling off, and oh, that hurt, but I'm glad it's gone.
Yeah.
But they're constantly chipping away at it, or at least showing me what I need to heal. But it's very strategic. It's very sequential. And it's one of those, it's every single time it's a hindsight moment where I look back and I'm like, oh, that's why they did that for me, or that's why that happened. And I'm not saying like everything that happens in my life, they're doing it for me. But I can say though, that it is very important to them that I have a very clear vessel and that I'm living in integrity and I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing in order for them to trust me, in order for me to give a clear reading or any kind of clear message, or I'm not the one who heals. I have no real healing powers inside me other than like believing and manifesting, that type of thing. But that's not even coming from my human body. That's also coming from my soul. But when I say I'm engaging in healing other people, it's more like I am acting as kind of that proxy so people can receive what they're supposed to receive.
I like that. I think it's important maybe that we go into a little bit of the differences between your mediumship and channeling.
Okay.
Because you had mentioned just, 5 minutes ago, like you were talking with the person's, son who had passed away. Like that's mediumship.
Correct.
And that kind of is like a localized, like Wi-Fi signal. Whereas when you open yourself up for channeling, is there an intention, or like what's the difference there? Like between the mediumship and then the channeling?
It's a great question because I had to actually figure this out myself because
Okay.
I just thought it was all the same. Like
Right.
it was information's coming from dead people.
Yeah.
And it's not accurate. It's not all the information is coming from dead people. Everybody, like you said this in the very beginning, everybody has the power, or you could also say everybody has intuition. We're all born with intuition. Intuition has basically replaced instinct. So animals have instincts. Like when you watch a dog eat its dog food, it takes a couple bites and it looks over its shoulder to make sure that no one's going to come take it away, or there's not another animal that's going to come eat its food. Even if it's the only animal in the house, it's still going to do that, right?
Yeah.
That's its instincts. It's born with that. We have graduated. We still have instincts inside of our inside of our souls, but they've graduated into a more higher level of intuition. And it's not that animals don't have intuition. Those darn little critters can sense things more than humans sometimes, and they see things more than humans. They don't have any inhibitions. And that's part of our problem is we have inhibitions, and one of our challenges is to get past those inhibitions so we can see clearly. But the fact that we've graduated from like the reptilian brain and the instincts into intuition, if that's the case, what does everybody do with that intuition, and where is it coming from, and why do we even need it? So the fact that the instinct is to keep animals alive, intuition's not just to keep us alive, but it does partially do that for us.
Yeah.
It also helps us thrive. And it also gives us information like, where did you get that from? Mm-hmm. It's coming from a source. You can't go to the cemetery and call up intuition. You don't receive inspiration from a cemetery. They're just bodies. They're just bones. Yeah. Where all of this is coming from is our soul, our spirit. There's this connectivity, and another podcast which you probably have already done on quantum physics is that we're all connected.
Yes.
And we have this ability to tap into that connect. Even though we seem like we're separate, we're really not.
Yeah.
And so there's this connectivity that we have to either at some point in our life believe that it exists, or keep calling it coincidence. I don't care what you call it, but it's there. And everybody has experienced some level of intuition. Even when people say, oh, my gut, I feel it in my gut. I knew this isn't the right thing. I shouldn't buy this house. I shouldn't buy this, do this and that. That is intuition coming from a higher source. It's not necessarily coming from people who have passed, but you can attribute it to something. Sure. And a lot of people attribute it to things called, people believe in guardian angels, people believe in spirit guides. They all of those kind of sound a little mystical, and it makes people either like shy away from it, like, I don't really believe in that. So you can call it whatever you want, but in reality it exists. And the psychic part is sometimes tied in with the medium part.
Okay.
And you can be a psychic and not be a medium, but you can't be a medium and not have psychic powers. So
Sure.
they go together when
Okay.
you're a medium.
Okay.
The fact that I do both, it is, to your point, or to your, to what you're saying, is they do sometimes cross over and they sometimes do blurs. I sometimes have to say, where did that information come from?
Okay. All right.
But that being said, over the years, or however long I've been in training, I have had to figure out where it was relevant, where it's coming from.
Okay.
It's not always coming from, oh, well, that's coming from my dad, or, oh, that's coming from my spirit guides. But when you do someone who, so there's different kinds of readings. Someone could come say, I just lost my father, my mother, whatever, last month, and I am struggling like no other.
Yeah.
Can you help me? There's those types of readings, the medium readings. And then there's the other people who come and say, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I'm at an impasse. Am I going in the right direction? Should I take this job? That's more of a psychic reading.
Okay.
But it also comes from a place that's higher than me. I don't know you.
Yeah.
I don't know what your context is. I don't know if I said you shouldn't take that job, how did I know you shouldn't?
Yeah.
That information I have to trust. Is people want either succinct answers like, should I? Yes or no.
Yeah.
But it never really goes that way. Spirit knows what you need, and they know exactly what is best for you. And usually they're never just like a yes or no, or they usually present more opportunity, I should say, more paths for you.
Okay.
So
For you to discover it on your own.
for you to discover it on your own.
Isn't that? I don't know. Like, I love that is the way that this reality is set up, is that we have to go through challenges to reach the other side, and then your 2020, like hindsight, you're like, oh, that's why that experience
Correct, yeah.
came into my life.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if this is really a proving ground and not like a teaching ground, an evolving simulation or whatever we're in to help evolve our spirit, we have to go through it. Like, being told something doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, the healing is what removes a lot of those blockages. But in terms of getting to a higher evolved state, it's not the answer that I'm sure a lot of our listeners are hoping for.
Well said. Yeah, well said. It's we all know those people, those kids, our friends growing up who their parents did everything for them, and then when they get out in the real world, they are lost.
Yeah.
And it's very similar is if people come to me and they're like, should I go route A or route B? And if they were to come to me every time they were to make a decision, there would be no power. They would not be empowered when they walked out of my house. They would just get an answer, which sometimes is very necessary.
Sure.
You've done everything you possibly could, and you come to me like, hey, I really want to know. I'm thinking of A or B. Which one is it? And sometimes it's C.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's neither. Those are the more valuable answers than go do A and see what happens.
Yeah.
Really, all that does is it just convinces them that I'm tapped in and they're going to come back.
So the first time, and I love this kind of evolution of this conversation because it's totally like making me think about when we first talked.
Mm-hmm.
And you had impressed upon me a little bit of the things that were really challenging for you as you were going through this, because you had confided that you had talked to so many people, but then months later they came back to you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're
Correct.
like, they're asking you the same question, and they're wanting you to give them the answer that they're wanting.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't do that. That's not, and it was really challenging for you. So help our listeners kind of understand what you actually really try to encourage, like, and what taught you how to hone your approach to be something that could be more lasting?
Yeah, and that's a great. It's a great question, and it's all you're spot on. There was a time where, again, this, I like that you use the word evolution because that's what it has been. And what's exciting for me is the fact that this could potentially be evolving as we speak.
Yeah.
So in 2 years, I may look back and say, how silly was I? But right now, though,
It
looking,
totally is evolving. Come on, you can't say if. It totally is.
you know, I know it is, but you know, I do have, there's again, there's that ego death that I'm always conscious of.
That's right.
Right. So
Mhm.
I do speak in those terms, but I know it's evolving
Yeah.
between you and me and
Yeah.
anyone who's listening.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was in the beginning, there were more medium visits. So if you want to have a visit with me, you know, come talk with me, and if there's anyone you'd like to have come through, I'll do my best. You know, can't guarantee anything, but let's see what happens. And that was beautiful. You know, it wasn't always like life changing for people, but it was accurate, and they were like, "Oh my God, I didn't know this was something that was possible." I was a skeptic, and I'm not. You know, blah blah blah. Those things were happening left and right. But then they would come back, like you said, and either ask the same questions or have very similar issues. Like there was no, they didn't get over that speed bump. And as much as I saw them getting over the speed bump, or even giving them kind of a little bit of a boost to get on their trajectory, get aligned with what they're supposed to be doing in life, that wasn't happening. And so I actually had a really lengthy conversation with spirit, which wasn't just like an hour, it was like more like months
Mm.
of how to send people away feeling more empowered, because really at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. Someone's coming to me not to really truly find out if their dad's doing okay on the other side. They know their dad's doing okay, he's not burning in hell.
Yeah.
They want to know, and they want to feel comforted that their dad's okay.
Right.
But they also come to me
So they're asking you the question that they think that if they get the answer, it's going to make them feel better. But then
Correct.
they go away and they're like, well, that didn't give me what I was hoping for. And you were looking at that and be like, that wasn't what you actually needed.
In a way, yes. I think they probably most likely did need to have an open communication with their loved one on the other side. But at the same time, there was some backtracking that was happening where they seemed like they were having these spiritual awakenings, and then they would go back. And it wasn't anything that I was doing. It's just, I think that I started to notice some commonalities with some people. And again, you can watch this on on TV with some of the TV mediums where it's just a one-off. They'll go to someone's house and they'll say, your grandma has a message for you. The people change. Yeah, absolutely. These people do change. And there's just like I changed when I saw my father. But that doesn't mean I became a perfect person.
Right.
You know what I mean? I still had my own issues, and I still had some healing to do on other things. But I was absolutely permanently changed. And these people that visit with me are also permanently changed. But I felt like there was more that I could do as opposed to just like calling in their loved one. So what I discussed with spirit was, how do I empower people to not only have beautiful experiences but also heal them, but also have this permanent mark on them that has nothing to do with me, but is tapping into what they actually need. And it almost felt like they said, great question, Kevin.
Glad you asked that.
Yeah, glad you asked that, because this is actually what people need. And I started to see this pattern, whether it was something that, you know, everyone says your phones are listening to you, but and you know, you see ads and videos and stuff that pertain to what you were talking about. Whether it's that or it was spirit, it doesn't matter, because I started to realize that in order for people to feel empowered, it has to do nothing with external anything. It has to do with everything internal. And that is exactly, like, if we go right back to what my dad gave me, he showed me what unconditional love felt like. He showed me what it felt like and gave me that healing. I knew what healing felt like, and I felt empowered when I walked away. And so I kept getting reminded of that. And I thought, how do I do that for other people?
Yeah.
So it went from practicing to being, knowing that I could call anybody, not anybody, but, the ones who were relevant to the visit to come through for other people, and also using the psychic abilities to call people or to give people direction. It didn't matter. I felt like there was more that I could do, and that more was getting everybody back to a state that we were all born with, that is untouched, it's pure, it's the natural state, it's what we were given when we were born on this planet, and then we ditch it.
Yeah.
Because other people tell us, they try and define us, they try and give us an identity. And I'm not saying like everybody's bad, it's just we adopt these things that we
Right.
believe.
We don't consciously ditch it.
Right.
It is layered on top of
Layered is a great word, yes.
your parents. Like, so this is you when you're born, like your soul. And we did a reading, and I'm a yellow or a soul, which everything that comes with that is totally me. But then your parents are probably your first influencers. Then your roles as like a brother or sister or a daughter or son, and then society, like within your friendship group, and then society, and eventually you have this whole layer of stuff that has nothing to do with you.
Not even you.
And a lot of people, I include, I mean, I'm part of that group, identify more with this layering than who I am as a soul.
Well said. Well said. That is exactly what's going on with literally everybody on this planet. Is we walk around with these belief systems that we could say, well, I don't believe in XYZ. Well, then there's your belief system.
Right.
I do believe in this. And you're like, that is like a really messed up way of thinking. But that's still their belief system.
Sure.
So they're walking around with this adopted, whatever it is, like a bunch of layers. But what really is going on in our evolution, in growing up and carrying these belief systems with us, is the more we get shown by external sources of who we are, the more we believe it. And it's the same with spirit. The more we get shown of who we really are, the more we are reminded of who we really are. And these external things, these identities, these definitions that no one has any right to give us, or for us to even believe it, they disintegrate.
Yeah.
Because what we're honoring is not these old operating systems and these old belief systems anymore. We're honoring who we really are. And that's what we were supposed to do from the beginning. And I think I told you this when we had our visit, is everything in your house is set up, is even if it's subconscious, it's there to remind us of who we are. Pictures of you and your wife, pictures of your kid, the music that you listened to, the posters when you were a kid. Like, there's so many things in your house that are like every corner you turn, you're like, oh, that's when we went here and there. And it's reminding you not only just of memories, but how you felt when you were on that memory and who you really are. Because those feelings are reminding, and sometimes people will cry when they hear a song that reminds them of their childhood. Why? It's taking them back to a more pure state of who they were compared to where they are now. And it's getting you to that. So my intent, I guess, to fast forward, is my intent is to get people to that point. Whether it's one visit, whether it's 20 visits, it doesn't matter. It's not a therapy session. It's really looking past all of the external things that are contained in your operating system. And it's very much like if you open up your phone and it's like really sluggish, and you realize, I did this with my mom's phone about a month ago.
Yeah. I don't know where this is going, but I know I can feel that this is a good analogy.
My mom's phone, and you know how like you have to swipe up to get rid of your apps, or you have to, if you still have an older phone, you have to double tap the button and
Yes.
get rid of the. My mom probably had, I would say, 80 apps open in the background, just running.
Yep.
And that's what we're doing in our life, is we may not know that these apps are open and running, but even if it was like notepad. It doesn't matter. It's still taking up a little bit of space.
Yeah.
And it's not taking up zero space. It's taking up something. And we have those little things and we have those big things.
Yeah.
And we have to identify what those are. And we have to identify, am I the owner of this? Or is this something I'm carrying along with me that's just making me tired all the time? It's just draining me. And it's not even like benefiting me.
Yeah.
That is what these visits with me do, is we look at these associations of these or not these notifications, but these apps, so to speak. Do they even need to be open?
Yeah.
And can we close them all?
Yeah.
And can we go back to who you really are and just like start from the basics and remember and just honor that and not take up so much space?
So I think it might help the audience if I describe a little bit of the benefit that I experienced going through that with you.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. And so as you were mentioning, like getting rid of those applications, essentially getting like a reboot of your core operating system to understand. And so we dived into my soul, my aura at birth was yellow. And everything like, intelligence and like my overthinking and my desire to be liked, my friendliness, my happiness, and everything that you were talking about had a flip side to it. As I was growing up, I recognized that a lot of my desire for friends made it so that I was willing to compromise my morals or like the things that I was willing to do, which might have been against the law, for that friendship. And things started to really make sense. But more than that, the power of my own energy, my own soul, my own being became 100% clear. And when I went home, I knew who I was. And a lot of what I had been traveling through this life with was, okay, I'm this core being, but I'm not sure what is my ego identity that has been artificially created to help me deal with a certain experience or trauma or environment. And what is it that's really me?
Yeah.
Because when I thought of my soul, I kind of was like, my personality is more my ego. My soul is kind of like this personality-less being, but that's not the case. Like I have some inherent funny and and so
Yes.
understanding what those real properties are allowed me to just be so accepting of who I am, and to I got super emotional because we had gone into my relationship with my wife being that perfect other pair, that yin and yang. And ever since I came here, me and my wife have been so strong, and there has been just effortless love flowing between us.
I love hearing that.
And I would always look at her being like, what can I show her to prove that I love her? And there's really nothing. It's me just being there with her in this life. And she got a major hit of love. And every time I look into her eyes, there was there was this, is she really seeing me? Is she seeing this outward facade? And now when I know that she and I are this soul pair, I know that she's looking directly into my soul, and there's nothing that I have to give or show or do.
Correct.
For that love to be expressed.
That's
And
beautiful.
It is so beautiful. So I want that for as many people as possible.
Thank you for sharing that.
I think it was important to share that because you're experiencing what you hear from other people, but you don't experience it.
True. Yeah.
And so, I experienced it, and it was not the typical, like, we had a great conversation. Like, there wasn't you calling in any spirit that like had passed away or anything like that. It was just an exchange of just the flow of energy. And I left, I think it was like 2.5 hours or something like that we were here.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it might be similar to like this conversation, where just things happened. But it definitely changed me, allowing me to just be more comfortable. Now, I still, when I get into social environments where I don't know people, I still feel like there's something inside of me that feels like I have to be something more than who I am to really be accepted but at that place I'm like, this isn't the core. Like, this isn't an energy exchange. Like, this is someone's ego testing my ego to see who is higher on the
Right.
rung. And so, like, I can have that experience with my wife. In the world, there's still this vying for position
Correct. Yeah.
and chest beating, that happens among men, and it really almost disgusts me. It really frustrates me that we all just can't be on the same level. As from me meeting you twice, I have that with you. I have it with people who I know are in this life for something more than just money and the surface level stuff that we all have been fed. That's what's going to make us happy. So at the same time, and I know that some people like Alan Watts and my dad and I have built a stronger relationship. My dad is going to watch this. I'm 100% sure of that. But he's looking at this whole arena from an intellectual perspective. What can I learn? What can I do to develop? And it's almost unfortunate that you can't really. You have to open yourself up. You have to let it happen naturally. There's not anything that you can learn that's going to help you evolve, that's going to help you get enlightened.
Right.
It's more about quieting the mind, getting your ego, putting that on a shelf, and just connecting.
Yeah.
And as you had mentioned, and this was my first episode, was the power of connection.
Oh, wow.
Was there is this thing, there's this connection, there's this energy, quantum, whatever you want to call it, that connects all of us. Whether we are a human to human, a flower to another plant, there is this energy connecting all of us. And you can't experience that or feel that if your brain is so preoccupied with trying to figure it out.
Correct.
Trying to put step after step after step. And I know that, Beth has voiced to me, like, my analytical mind, my logical mind, which I now know is actually part of my soul.
Part of your soul. Yeah.
It's not me trying to get a structure artificially. This is actually what my soul likes.
You're helping the world go around.
Yeah.
By being yourself. Yeah.
And so I just, love the fact that there are people like you, like Beth, who are trying to help the world and not have this selfish lens. And that's actually what it is that makes you more powerful, more able to help.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I want to I guess maybe help viewers who are getting a ping from the universe. They might have felt this intuition. Like, what are some of the things that maybe they could practice or try on to help them kind of experience this a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. It's and thank you for all that, by the way. That's um, I never sometimes get to read the ending of the story,
Yeah.
or at least the continuation, the sequel. And I appreciate you telling me that. That's it's beautiful that you were able to see that, and truly, when we get to this point where there is the chest pounding, and there is this like, I want to be higher than this person and higher, and we are basing all of that when we are in that state on external things. Like, what does it mean to other people, or what does it mean to me in order to be better than this person? So you're including something external in your equation
Yeah.
that doesn't have anything to do with you. And when you said, why can't the world just be where everybody's helping each other and everybody's helping heal each other? That only occurs when we are turned internally. And I think one of the I don't know if this might be an oxymoron or not, but in order for us to help other people, we have to turn in to ourselves first. And it seems selfish to have to worry about ourselves when the definition of selfish or of selflessness is thinking about other people first.
Yeah.
But if you were one of the worst people on the planet, you're not going to be thinking of other people, and the way you would help somebody would not even help them.
Right.
But your goal on this planet is not to help other people. Your goal on this planet is to become the most whole person you can become, and the most
like that
beautiful
distinction.
person you can become.
Yeah.
Because what happens, the outcome of that is you start helping other people.
Yeah.
And you start being more concerned about other people, because your true self is showing you how beautiful you are, and you naturally want to go help people. And so tying that into your last question is, what do people need to do? I'm not going to be plugging business for myself, because this is in and of itself. But I mean, people are always welcome to come see me. We could have more extensive conversations like you and I are having right now, one-on-one. But if they wanted to do this on their own, it is about turning internal. It's not just having stronger intuition. That is kind of just the vehicle to get you there. But what are you going to do when you get there?
Yeah.
What are you going to tap into? Because your intuition is going to show you a world of things, as you know. You can travel to places you're like, I didn't know that this even existed, type of thing. But there are more feelings, and not just places. It's the state of mind, it's the state of your soul, it's what you're prioritizing, it's what you're putting in the driver's seat in life. So if your human self is in the driver's seat, your soul is not in the driver's seat. Your soul is in the passengers, or in the back seat, or not even in the car at all. You are working off of ego, you're working off of fear, you're working off of panic, you're working off of hatred, grudges, victimhood. Like, I can't believe this person did this to me. I'm gonna, vengeance. That's the human experience. If you want the human experience, I'm not saying all human experiences are bad, because as a soul, we decided to come down to this planet to have a human experience.
Yeah.
But like you were saying earlier about how there's always a flip side to the beautiful.
Right.
You flip it over, there's a bad side, and the
Yeah.
bad side is going to drive you in off a cliff.
Yeah.
And so in order for people to kind of balance that out, they introduce a little bit of like, I'm going to go to church, or I'm going to have a little bit of religion, or I'm going to read the Bible, or or I'm not saying anything bad about religion, but it's a very supplemental thing.
Yeah.
In addition to having a human experience, where it should be reversed.
Yeah.
The way that people need to live is a soul-led life,
Yeah.
as opposed to a human-led life. And the human part is just the supplemental part, because you can't experience the human things as a soul. You can't experience hugging another person, the taste of things. There's so many. You could go on and on about the human experience, But you also can experience the soul things if you're living a whole human life, where you're experiencing the most beautiful feelings and the most healing things you've ever experienced in your life. If you are more that, and I'm not saying you need to completely ditch the human, but I am
We still
saying
have to
though
pay our
that
bills.
what's that?
We still have to pay our bills.
True.
And
You still have to like have the
drive
human
from here
experience.
to there. We
Correct.
Yeah.
And I use this. Do I have a couple minutes or a minute?
Sure. Yeah.
I use this example as something that makes sense to me. It may not make sense to other people, but the way that I look at the human experience is like, have you ever been scuba diving before?
I have.
Okay, so you know the amount of preparation and the amount of check, check. I have to go through a list in order to not die.
Right.
And I'm also PADI certified, so
Nice.
I know exactly what it takes. And I've been some very, very deep, dangerous places in the oceans. And so before you even jump into the water, you have to suit up.
Yeah.
And then you have to get your gear on, and you have to be prepared to make sure that you don't die. But it's not just that. You want to come back up safe, and you don't want to have any harm done to you down there. So there's a lot of like mental state things happening, but you are suited up and you're going underwater to have a different experience.
Yeah.
When you go underwater and you are that scuba person, that's not who you are.
Right.
You're just dressed up in order to have this experience, and you have a timer on your wrist that says, in about 30 minutes, it's time to go back up.
Yeah.
The human experience is very much like that. We are not humans. We are souls in like a scuba outfit, and when the time is up, the time's up.
Yeah.
Just don't die. That's survival mode. But thriving mode, though, is putting your soul in charge and making sure that all the decisions you're making are not based on the human self, but more on the soul self.
Yeah.
And the soul self is who we really are. And so that's what I would tell people is, in order to get past this, I have a billion problems. How do I navigate them?
Yeah.
Sure, that's a very legitimate, valid thing for people to think. Everybody thinks it. But what is a problem? What are you dealing with? Like, are you dealing with it from a human side? Are you dealing from a soul side? Like, how are you dealing with these issues?
Yeah.
So it's not just let's call up your grandma and see what she has to say. It's how do we get ourselves in a soul-led life that is the most thriving human experience that we can have.
Yeah.
So it's basically doing everything you can possibly do to prepare before you jump into the water and you go down to the depths and you have the most beautiful experience down in the depths of the oceans. And then when it's time, you come back up. You were never that scuba suit.
Yeah.
You just were dressed in it.
Yeah.
And it's time to go back home and give everybody a review of what happened to you. So it was beautiful down there. You got your time, and now it's time to come back up. But you're never defined as that. And that's what we do as humans. We're like, I am this body.
Yeah.
I am this.
Yeah.
And that's just not how it is. So I guess in order to bottom line everything I just said, it's changing that perception and that perspective about who we really are, because we aren't human.
Yeah.
We're having a human experience.
Yeah.
And that's what all of this is about. That's why I do this.
Yeah.
In addition to the healing, in addition to helping people become their whole and most complete self.
I love that. Well, I had a little bit of, I don't know if there's a place for this, but we're gonna do a little quick rapid fire thing. 5 things that basically someone might experience. And I would love your feedback in terms of, is it a red flag or a green flag?
Okay.
So is it in line with someone who is trying to learn more about themselves as who they are really? Or is it something that is a note for them to take to understand, hey, your ego is still pulling at you.
Okay.
And you might want to discern that.
All right.
Because I think there's a little bit of a blur. Well, there's a big blur.
Yeah.
In terms of like spirituality, what actually is aligning to my spirit, and what is the ego trying to accentuate as a way for me to appear better than somebody else.
Okay.
So talking about synchronicities, let's say you're seeing patterns, meaningful patterns, or seeing 1111 show up on the clock. What do those patterns mean to you?
So it's probably one of the number one, like top 5
Yeah.
things that people discuss when they come to me. It's sometimes the catalyst for them to even come here. Like I keep seeing 1111.
Yeah.
I keep having all these weird synchronicities, and it's not that I don't believe in coincidences, and it's also, I tell people this, I don't believe in predestination, but I do believe that these things sometimes, just like how when I was a kid and I knew things were going to happen before they weren't valuable. The things that were happening were not valuable. Having a substitute teacher like literally didn't mean no good. Who cares? But the fact that you're getting nudged with these synchronicities, like for instance, if you were thinking about a friend and you're just like, I should probably text them, and you do, and they're like, how did you know? I'm going through some issues. You have to pause on those types of instances and say, okay, I did that for a reason. I was listening to my intuition, and you can end it there if you want. Say, okay, that was great. I got a synchronicity. Or to continually see numbers. I believe that numbers are being shown to you because you don't really look at the clock and see the same number over and over and over and over and over and over again as a coincidence.
Right.
You don't know that it's going to be that same time. Like I see 444 all the time, sometimes AM, and I get really mad when that happens. But it's for a reason. And if you were to be, in discovery mode, you sometimes can find out what it actually means for you.
Yeah.
Not just in general, but why am I seeing these numbers all the time? I think the more you dismiss it, the more it becomes egotistical, because you are thinking that you're either special and I'm just getting these hits and no one else is, and it's just me.
Yeah.
Or you could think there's something better in store for me and I'm getting nudges to find out what that is. And it may take a couple years, it may take a day, it may take an hour, but I want to find out what that is. So paying attention to when you get those is probably more important than what actually is being shown. Not always. Like the numbers are something that you probably need to do a little research about, because they actually do have spiritual meanings.
Yeah.
They also have astrological meanings. Numbers are throughout the world. They're everywhere. And so it's something that we shouldn't ignore. Sometimes they don't mean anything, but that's where the ego would come in, is where you would go and look it up and you're like, oh, it actually doesn't mean anything.
Right.
But you learned at that moment what it feels like to engage in an egotistical moment versus a spiritual moment. You're like, okay, that was more egotistical. Okay, I get it.
I think that your distinction between you get a synchronicity, you're like, I'm open to the fact that there are these connections going on that I have no even ability to fathom what it actually means.
Yeah.
I think where I have had instances where I see 1111, I'm like, oh, that means that what I'm doing right now is perfect. Like
that's what people, yes.
That's the ego. That's
yes.
the ego coming
yes.
in and calling out and seeing a pattern and then applying it to something that I want it to validate.
Right. You actually put the meaning to it.
I put the meaning to it.
You said, I am perfect in my life right now. And
Yeah.
again, that would be very egotistical. Or you could say, so for me, what I tell people when I have these sessions with them, and they do bring up, like, I keep seeing this number. or I keep seeing this series of numbers over and over and over. It's not like, don't worry about it. You're doing your life. You're doing life perfectly. It's more about do some research and find out what those mean or what the meaning is behind it, because it could have some meaning to you right now, or it may have some meaning for you in the future.
Yeah.
But the more important thing is that you're being looked after, that you're getting these messages in the first place.
Yeah.
So what you do, just and again, using myself as an example, I did nothing with those messages
Yeah.
other than like, I guess I have these abilities. But if you do nothing with them, that's fine. But if you do something with them, you're acknowledging the fact that you're being looked after. And usually when those times happen, you're given more.
Yeah. Nice. So being open, I love it. So physicality, and maybe we can just talk about, like, I know some monks, they go off into a cave and they meditate forever, and they don't have anything, they have very little that they're worrying about. Like, they have people sometimes giving them their food so that they can just focus on meditation. In our world, that is almost impossible.
Yeah.
And where do you feel that the spiritual practice exists that is also supporting you in this 3D realm?
So it's a great question, because you're right. The practicality of us going into the Himalayas and saying, honey, I'll see you in 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm going to be celibate as well.
Yeah.
And, I mean, she might be comforted by that, but not seeing you, though, is probably going to make them upset. So yeah, you're right. The practicality of it is null. The solution to that, though, is, I mean, I guess we first have to ask ourselves, or ask even them, and I already know the answer and I'm going to share it with you, but why in the heck are you going up to the mountains
Yeah.
and you're not saying anything? So some of them don't even actually say words for a while, like an extended period. They don't even speak. They don't use their mouth, or they'll use their mouth, but for like frequency humming or whatever, but that's it. So why are they doing that? The reason is they are eliminating every single distraction, whether it's visual, whether it's audible, it doesn't matter. It's not just sacrifice alone. It's to eliminate anything that's distracting them from what? From being close to the spirit, from being connected. So when they are in there, the reason that there are these sages, there's these wise people, because they are dedicating their lives to listening to spirit, to connecting with spirit. For us in this 3D world, we can get there. It's obviously going to take a little bit more time, because we're not dedicating 100% of our time. Literally, our dreams are when we wake up in the morning. We're not able to do that, but we do have to, and not, it would be nice to, we have to find those moments of stillness. We have to create them, curate them, make them happen, so we can get into a very similar state to where we are not only listening and open, but we have to make it a practice to where we know what it feels like. They know, like, probably really quick what it feels like to be receiving and when they're not receiving.
Yeah.
When they're open, when they're not open. And you can control that part too. You can close yourself off. Like I do it when I'm out in public. If I go to like a music festival or something, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be open in this place.
Yeah.
They have that ability to do the same. And so for us, we do have to find those moments where we are sitting still, whether it's in silence. I find that silence is the most effective, because you're not listening to what your ears are telling you. You're listening to what your intuition, what spirit, whatever that may be, the hundreds of minions up there that are talking to you. It doesn't matter. You're in that receiving state and you're listening, and that's where we need to be. Is we need to do that on a regular basis of finding out what's best for you. Because going back to what I was saying before, is our goal in life, our main goal in life should be making ourselves complete.
Yeah.
So
I love that. And I think the more you are able to take a moment and be like, am I serving myself? Am I kind of acting out of ego?
Yeah.
This cheeseburger really makes me feel good, or this drug really makes me feel good, but is it true to my being, or is it just kind of like a band-aid?
Correct. Correct.
Because that's that's the 3D endeavor versus kind of the perpetual, the everlasting.
Yes, 100%.
Goal.
There's so many temporary things that, and again, we can just look at everybody's activities on this planet. You know, they go to breath work once a week or once a month or whatever. And why do they do that? Well, they're trying to get closer
Right.
to spirit.
Yeah.
And they're also trying to differentiate between 3D and the other realm.
Yeah.
And that's why they do it. But the more, and it's obvious, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. But what are they trying to get out of it other than calmness and peace? That's up to them.
Yeah.
But the main thing that they should be trying to get out of it is receiving that wisdom, because the wisdom is out. Wisdom doesn't always come from having a painful or traumatic experience. Wisdom comes when we are in our most silent moments and we're listening, and it will flow into us and it doesn't leave. Knowledge leaves. I don't remember what I did when I was 12 years old on August 5th, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Right.
What matters is the wisdom that you receive from either learning something or being in those still moments and receiving the wisdom. Wisdom never leaves you. And so you can regurgitate what you learned from a book, or you can actually just speak from your heart about what wisdom actually is. And that's the whole purpose behind like meditation and breath work. We're trying to get to that place where we can receive and be more wise, which takes us up in a more elevated way above the human experience.
Yeah. You're building your own awareness of who you are, and that wisdom then allows you to be more yourself, and then people see that.
Correct. Yep.
And then they're like, I want to be more myself.
It's inspiring. It can be very inspiring for people who are observers.
Yeah.
But that's I have to hit home that none of these things that you and I have talked about today are for anybody else other than yourself.
Yeah.
They're not for you to make your wife like you more. They're not for you to make your parents like you more, to have a better relationship with your parents. It's not about that. None of this is about anybody else other than yourself. And so some people do come to me and they say, how can I change my spouse
Yeah.
to get them to like me?
Yeah.
And as crazy as that either sounds or as relatable as that may sound, it's not the right question to answer.
Yeah.
Or to ask.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. And I think we're going to end on that, because I think that gives our viewership a good nugget to think on as they go through their day. Are the actions I'm doing to make myself seem better to other people, or is it for me to gain more wisdom and love?
Correct. And the way that you get there is just as important as the end goal.
Yeah.
The way you get there, you could absolutely do things that temporarily make you feel that way, or you can do it the accurate way. And with spirituality and tapping into that, the truth literally exists, and you just tap into it and you find it. And it's one source of truth. It's not 20 sources of truth. You can't say I know the truth and you know the truth, but they're two different truths.
Yeah.
So finding the truth, finding the spiritual part of living is going to enrich your life to where you constantly feel fulfilled and edified, but not in a temporary way.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
thank you.
Everybody, hope you have a great rest of your day, your week, your month, your year. It's coming up. 2026 is around the corner. A lot of awesome things coming, and thank you for tuning in.
Adios.
Take care.